Good morning, everyone. Sarah Henderson, the Federal Member for Corangamite. This morning I just want to raise a couple of issues in particular. The first one is my profound concerns about Labor's tax grab. We've had the carbon tax, the mining tax, and now effectively a home buyer's tax. What we will see from Labor's negative gearing proposal is a slashing of house prices, particularly in rural and regional areas. Places like Geelong West, East Geelong, Torquay, Highton, when you take 1/3 of all buyers out of a market, it's going to have a devastating effect. And Labor's commentary about first home buyers shows that they don't understand how the market works. Most first home buyers in places like Geelong and places like Armstrong Creek target newly built homes. If all investors are driven into the newly built homes market, that is going to drive up prices, it's going to drive up rents. So we have seen again another economically reckless policy from Labor, a party which does not understand the economy, and a party, if elected, which is going to do enormous damage, particularly in rural and regional areas where house prices are perhaps a bit more vulnerable. So we're profoundly concerned about this policy. Secondly, thank you. Secondly, I want to raise some concerns about the bushfire recovery effort in Wye River. Last week I was in Wye River and Separation Creek, and while there has been substantial funding announced, the Commonwealth is making a very substantial contribution to the clean-up, to emergency grants. On the ground, I have discovered that the people of Wye River and Separation Creek need a lot more help. They need help with counsellors, they need help with a one-stop shop to assist with the planning and the rebuilding. Only one family has received an emergency re-establishment payment. So I am calling on the Victorian Government to get down to Wye River and Separation Creek and to really start delivering these services. I don't say it's easy, it's very complex in the wake of a natural disaster, and I know that, of course, some people in the Victorian Government are working hard, but on the ground the services are not being provided. It's nearly 2 months since that terrible tragedy. 116 homes were lost, and I do call on the Victorian Government to expedite the delivery of those services. Well, the Federal Government is doing a lot under the natural disaster recovery arrangements. The Commonwealth pays half of all funding activated by the Victorian Government, but the Victorian Government administers that scheme. So the Commonwealth is paying for emergency grants, for clean-up. There's very substantial clean-up going on at the moment, but the Victorian Government, as the deliverer of those services, needs to make sure that it's getting down into that community. When I had a community meeting last week. We also announced the beginning of construction of a $4 million bridge for Separation Creek under our $50 million Great Ocean Road upgrade. So it's great to see that investment happening in Separation Creek and Wye River. But on the ground, community members are saying to me, we need counsellors, we need welfare workers, we need some help. So I'm just saying, while it's very complex and difficult, I do hope that the Victorian Government can expedite the rollout of those services. One big commitment the Victorian Government has made is to deliver a one-stop shop. So all rebuilding and planning all happens under the one roof. And that has been established in Melbourne. Of course, most people who lost their homes in Wye and Separation Creek live in Melbourne. But for the people of Wye River, Separation Creek, and also in the surrounding communities, the people I proudly represent, they haven't yet got that service, and that's incredibly important.
As a regional MP and a former journalist, what do you make of moves to shake up the ownership laws and get rid of the reach rules and the 2 out of 3 rules?
Look, I think the time has come for this media reform. We are now seeing a vastly different landscape from when I was a journalist. I worked for 9, 7, 10, the ABC and ITV. So it's a very, very different landscape. The laws no longer fit the model. Of course, we're now seeing a huge diversity of voices in our media, so I think the time has come. My big concern is to ensure that local content continues in regional Australia. We must ensure that those local news services, being a former news journo myself, we must ensure those local voices in rural and regional Australia continue, and I know that's top of mind for the Minister.